Hello and welcome to STATA MasterClass tutorial number 2. I am Muhammad Ali from Ali Shuja Classroom. Today we are going to discuss some of the methods to generate, recode and modify some of the variables in STATA. So in most cases what you will do is you'll have a spreadsheet or data available on Excel, something like that, and then you will import in STATA. Very rarely you'll need something to create from scratch, but for example, if I have opened some data right now, I will clear that up. The difference between these tutorials and the ones that you'll find on web is that I'm not going to go by the book. I'm going to explain some of the data tools that I use on daily basis, and I have been using during my PhD and also at the World Bank. I want to discuss the commands that are frequently used in STATA. If I start to cover everything in STATA, it will take more than 1,000 videos, and it will be very difficult for you to find what is useful for you. So what I'm trying to do here is that to give you an idea about what kind of commands are frequently used and how you can use them in your data analysis tasks. Okay, so I've cleared the data set, meaning that if I click this guy right here, browse, or if I simply type browse, then I have nothing. And not only that I have nothing, it doesn't say anything right here. This is number of observations, 1, 2, 3, 4. It should mention 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. So since I don't have that, how to create a variable from scratch? So we have to set number of observations first. So right now we are learning how to create a variable in STATA in an empty data sheet. Okay, we have to set the number of observations. Let's write set observations, OBS for short, and we say, let's say we need 10 observations, and we click enter. Now when we open a data editor, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is like number of observations that are now allowed in STATA, even though we don't have any variables here. So our first command for today is to generate a new variable. Let's say I want to create new variable. To create a new variable, I need to type generate, or short gen, gen, space, name of the variable. Let's say I want to call it x, generate x. Now I need to define what it should equate to. So I cannot simply write gen x and okay, we need to define, okay, STATA knows that it needs to create a variable, but what it should equal to. If you want it to be empty, you simply need to write equal to dot. It means that empty observations or missing observations, or you could say equal to 1 or 100, whatever. Okay, you have to define what you want it to be equal to. You could also can create random numbers for that as well. I'm going to just write simply missing, generate x equal to missing. Okay, let's type browse again, and you can see that x is created. It's shown here as well, and these are missing observations. Okay, and this is a float variable, because meaning this is one of the numerical kinds. And let's say if you wanted to create a variable which is string but also empty, that would be gen y, or let's call it string. I don't know if STATA will allow that. Gen string equal to, if I want a variable which is empty but STATA should consider it as a string, there are many other ways to do that as well, but let's say like this. So I will not write equal to dot, I will write equal to double quotations. Okay, and click enter. Okay, so STATA allowed, because STATA uses string for other purposes as well, so I did not know that it will allow it for now as well. So for x you can see dots for missing variables. For string, if I click here, see that this is string here. So this is also empty, but this is string. All right, so this is how you create a new variable. Now, I have X and I have a string. And what if I want to replace some of the values in X? So for that, I need to use the command replace. And replace what? Replace in what? Replace X, meaning I want to replace some values in X, equal to, and I want X to be equal to something. So I'm going to write, let's say 1, meaning that there is a variable called X in Stata, and I'm asking Stata to go there and replace all the values with 1. Replace X equal to 1. Okay, enter. And so if you want to browse, if you want to go back to some of the commands that you have used before, use page up. Okay, you can see this on your keyboards, page up. When you click page up, it will go to the previous commands. So I've used browse before, so I've clicked page up 3 times and browse is mentioned here. You can see that, and I'm going to enter. So that you can see that it's not dot anymore, it's 1. All right, so this is how you replace values. Okay, if I try to do that with a string, it should not work because it's a string. Replace string equal to 1. See, it does not work because I need to define it, define the replacement also as a string, because string we created string as a string. Okay, so what we should do is we should write it in quotations. Replace string equal to 1, and it should work. See, okay, now page up, page up, page up, browse. Now you see that this one is, I don't know if this is visible, but this is red, as we saw in the first introductory tutorial as well. The string variables are red, and now the command has worked. So this is 1, and this, you can see that this is string. Okay, very simple stuff. You can also do it by conditions, meaning that, for example, in variable X, I want to replace the 5th value. Okay, how do I do that? So let's say I want to replace X and I want it to be 2. Okay, but I want it to be 2 only for 5th observation. The you can denote 5th any type of observation, the order of the observation, using _n in Stata. Underscore capital N, as it is also mentioned here, is the total number of observations. So here Stata is showing you that before it was 0 because we created we had set observations equal to 10. So it was Stata was saying that previously it was 0, now it is 10. So _n is a total number of observations. Now it is 10. And within those 10, if I want to move along any number of observation, I need to denote it with _small n. So you'll see what I mean. So I want to replace X equal to 2 when only for the 5th observation. So replace X equal to 2 if _n, which is the place of my observation, is, you have to type double equal to. When you are defining if condition, you have to type double equal to. It means exact match. If you type 1 equal to, most of the time it gives error. If it doesn't give error, it goes for the closest match, and it's usually you don't want that. So type double equal to, and I want it to change it on 5th observation. Okay, so what Stata is going to do? Replace X equal to 2 only when the observation number is 5. All right. So Stata is telling me that it has made one change. So it already tells me that something correct has happened. Browse again. So you see that this is the 5th observation and this is number 2. So Stata has made the change that I wanted it to make. All right. A similar command is of recode. Recode means that you are when you have so many different types of variables, number of observations in the variable, you want to change some of them, recode them to create a new variable. So I think the easiest and the most efficient way would be to use an existing data. Right now we created a dummy data. So to be more realistic, let's use demographic and health survey of Pakistan. So I already have that command right here, so I'll click it and I will enter it. Now I have this data set right here, and I want to give you a demonstration on water variable. So we have a water variable here which says source of drinking water, HV201. So in these tutorials, in addition to the commands that I'm going to cover explicitly, you will also learn some additional bonus commands. One of them is labels, and I will explain them in a minute. So I want to see how HV201 looks like. So one of the bonus commands is tab. Tab means that tabulation, and I want to tabulate HV201. Enter. 14,540 households were interviewed, and 24.7% revealed that they use piped water that comes into their households. Let's say 3.3% said that they use bottled water for drinking, and so on. So there are different types. Okay, let's say I need to create a variable for piped water, and I have this tabulation right here for the drinking water sources, and I know that these first four ones are the piped water. So how can I recode it? One of the ways is to simply use the replace command that we saw a few minutes ago, or we could use the recode command. But before we do that, we need to understand what is behind these values. So going back to browse HV201, we can see that each label has a different number behind it. So river is 43, unprotected is unprotected well or something is 42, and public tap is 14 and something like that. So where is this information stored? You can see it right here that the value labels are HV201. So I'm going to see what is stored in HV201. Label, list, capital HV201, capital HV because that's the name of the label, small hv is for the name of the variable. Enter, and now I know that keep in mind that the first one, even though there is a value label for it, so we can see that piped water is not there, it's not in the table, so it's of no use for us. The first one is piped into dwelling, which is 24.72%. Piped into dwelling is 11. Piped into yard is 12. Piped into neighbor is 13. And this standpipe is 14. So we need to convert these 4 into pipe water, the new variable that I want to create, and the rest could be anything else, or 0, let's say. So the command is recode, and I want from 11 to 14. You could also write it like this: 12, 13, 14. But the better way to do is 11/14, 11 meaning 11 to 14 equal to 1. And after that I have 21. Or I could include 20 as well, but the next one is, you can see, tube well or borehole after standpipe. So tube well or borehole is 21. So I'm going to write from 21 to 96 because I want everything else to be 0. And if I click it right here, STATA will change everything in HV201, the original variable. It will modify that variable. I don't want that. I want a new variable. I want to call it piped water. And for that you have seen it that I had a comma gen for generate and type the name of variable. You can write anything, you can name it anything. Too few variables is okay, I made an error. I did not write the name of the variable here. So Recode what? Stata is asking me Recode what? Okay, Stata, sorry, Recode HV201, and now it should work, and it does. All right, so tab, let's say tab piped water, and it says that 36.69% of the people have piped water. Is that true? We can check it. Let's tab HV201 again, and piped water was the first four, and these are the cumulative frequencies. You can see that the first four cumulative frequencies 36.69, which is the same here. It means that the recording worked. Yes. All right, so piped water, now we have created a variable. We know how to use replace command, we know how to use recode command. Now bonus, let's see how to label these variables. So let's say I have just created a variable called pipe water, and you can see that it is giving it a weird label, recode of HV blah blah blah. I don't want that. I want to give it a new variable, label var. So since we are labeling variable, label var, and which variable? Pipe water. What to label it with? Let's write something. Household uses piped water. Okay. So when you are defining variable label for the variable, you have to write it in quotations, inverted commas. Enter. And if I type pipe water here, it says household uses pipe water. Okay, so this is not nasty anymore. All right, and how about if I write tab piped water? Okay, now it says household uses pipe water instead of this it's code blah blah blah. So that's pretty, right? Now it says 0 or 1. How about if I want to give it some label? So how would I do that? For example, we saw that these are numbers, but Stata is showing labels. How about I do the same for this one? Okay, for doing that, you need to do label define. And label define. I'm going to define a new variable, so I have to name it. I have to give it some name. Let's say I want to give it piped caps, just to make sure that it is different from anything else. And now I want to assign some label. So if this is not going to create any variable, is this going to create a label in the background, and later we can use that. So piped, if the variable is 0, it should call it non-piped, because we know that in this table 0 means non-piped. We created the variable this way, non-piped. And if this is 1, then we want to call it piped water. Okay, so the variable, label is generated, but you will not find it in the variable list because it's not a variable, it's a label. And to make it work, we need to assign this to our newly created variable. How to do that? Label values, because we are assigning labels to values. Previously we were assigning label to a variable, that's why we call it label var. Now we are assigning label to values, so we are calling label values to which variable? To piped water. And what variable? Because what label, sorry, we have just created a label called piped, so I'll write piped and click enter. Okay, so since Stata executed this command, it means that it must have worked. So let's check it. Tab piped water and enter, and you can see that this is pretty, right? And so the variable also has a label and the values also have labels. Everything else is the same. 0, 1, instead of 0, 1, it is showing non-piped and piped water. And if you want to see this label, what is behind it, similar to what we did before, label list and piped, it will show you that you created a label which is in the background somewhere, which is 0 equals to non-piped water, 1 equals to piped water. So this is how it is done. And if you want to, for example, when we were tabulating 201, HV201, it was showing with all these labels, value labels, right? If you want to see the same table without labels, what you have to do is tab HV201, comma, no label. So I think I typed dot instead of comma, sorry, comma, no label. And it will show you the same table without labels. So it's showing 11, 12, 13, 14. So there are two ways of doing it. The label, this one, label list way, or also you can also do it in this way. So this concludes our tutorial 2 for STATA Masterclass. If you have any specific queries, if you want to learn something specific, feel free to write in the comments. I'll be happy to help. I have a plan to demonstrate everything that I know. So the structure will not be as it is in the books or as it is in the complete course of STATA you might find on YouTube. I think my series of tutorials is very useful for the practitioners who use STATA in their daily work, or even for MPhil and PhD students who use STATA for their research. So I'm not following any book outline. I'm showing you in my opinion how things go from easy to advanced. I'm going in this direction, but in the middle, if I go through something very quickly, if something was unclear, please do ask in the comments. I will be happy to elaborate, and I'll be back with the tutorial number 3 next week, hopefully, with some new stuff that might be useful for you. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and if you want to follow the series of tutorials, please do subscribe to the Ali Shuja Classroom channel on YouTube, and also Ali Shuja Classroom page on Facebook. See you with the next tutorial next week, hopefully. Until then, bye-bye.